Hey everybody, welcome back to Sip&Talk. I'm Joe. And as always, I'm ready to dive into some seriously juicy info with you all today. It's like we're mixing up a knowledge cocktail here. Strong stuff, but oh, so smooth going down.
And I'm Sunny, your friendly neighborhood fact checker. I'll make sure we get all the ingredients right. Speaking of mixing things up, you know it's always a good blend? Travel whiskey and discovering awesome new things. You have to check out our friend Mickey's YouTube channel, Mickey to Life.
Yeah, Mickey's the best. He's always got something cool going on.
And we are live. Good morning, afternoon, or evening to all of our Sip&Talkers out there, no matter what time zone you were tuning in from. Welcome back to another session of Sip&Talk.
Yeah, welcome back, everyone. I am so excited for this one because, well, we have a completely fascinating topic today.
We really do. And I have to confess something right off the bat. I went to this party in Silicon Valley this week, and you know how these things usually go, right?
Oh, I know exactly how they go. Everyone pitching their startups.
Right, exactly. Like everyone is usually cornering each other by the drinks to talk about the latest AI agents or, you know, when we are finally colonizing Mars. But not this time.
Let me guess. It was all about biohacking.
It was crazy. I looked around and literally the only question people were asking each other was, did you get your shot today?
Wow. Yeah, that is the liquid gold of the tech scene right now.
Exactly. We are talking about GLP-1 agonists, like the active compounds in medications like Ozempic or, you know, the skinny pen. It has completely taken over.
It really has consumed the entire cultural conversation. And I mean, it goes far beyond just like Hollywood aesthetics now.
Yeah.
People are openly discussing it as this fundamental biohack.
I saw it firsthand. I was actually in the middle of talking to a friend at this party about my fasting protocols and how I'm trying to dial in my electrolytes to optimize my metabolic health the natural way.
Okay, and how did that go over?
Oh, he just looked at me completely deadpan and mocked me. He literally said, "Why are you working so hard? I take a simple shot, my brain mutes every single hunger signal, and a juicy, dry-aged steak looks like a rock on the side of the road to me."
A rock. Oh man, that's intense.
Right. But honestly, it stopped me in my tracks. It made me wonder, like, with science handing us this incredibly powerful cheat code, why do we still put so much effort into staying healthy the hard way?
Well, that tension, tech shortcuts versus biological evolution, that is the defining question of modern health right now. Because this isn't just about weight loss anymore, is it?
No, not at all.
It is about how we interface with our own physiology. So, in today's session, we are going to unpack the hidden tactics of these miracle shots.
Yes, the tax, because there is always a catch.
Always. And we will contrast that with the hardcore biology of fasting, specifically how to naturally clear out the most dangerous fat in your body.
And definitely stick around, because finally, we are going to do a custom troubleshooting session for one of our Sip&Talkers. Our mutual friend Mickey actually submitted today's topic.
Yeah, Mickey. And his situation is super relevant because having a highly sensitive gut completely changes the rules of engagement when it comes to fasting.
It really does. But wait, before we get into Mickey's gut, I want to circle back to the shot. If this drug literally turns off food noise and makes a steak look like a rock, why shouldn't I just go get a prescription right now?
I mean, it's a fair question.
Right. Like, let's talk about the miracle first, and then I want to know exactly what physiological tax I'm paying for it.
Okay, well, objectively speaking, GLP-1 is a genuine medical marvel. It's a synthetic compound that acts as an agonist.
An agonist? Remind me, that's like a key fitting into a lock, right?
Exactly. In pharmacology, an agonist is essentially a chemical key that fits into a specific receptor on your cells and turns it on. In this case, it mimics a naturally occurring hormone in our bodies called incretin.
And incretin is what our gut releases when we eat. It tells the brain, hey, we are full, and tells the stomach to slow down digestion.
Precisely. But here's the thing. Our natural incretin fades away in a matter of minutes. It's very short-lived.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so this synthetic agonist is engineered to be incredibly durable. It stays locked into those receptors for days.
Days, wow.
Yeah, and it significantly delays gastric emptying, meaning food literally sits in your stomach for an extended period, creating this profound, undeniable satiety.
I mean, for someone who has spent their entire life battling an exhausting internal monologue about what to eat next, that sounds like ultimate freedom.
It does. It turns a grueling psychological battle into simple physiological automation.
And I was reading some clinical data, specifically in the New England Journal of Medicine, and this isn't just cosmetic. For individuals with severe obesity, like a BMI over 30, It's showing significant cardiovascular protection.
Yeah, it's reducing heart attack risks. It is a literal lifeline for that specific clinical population.
Okay, so it's a lifeline.
Right.
But you mentioned the tax. When you take a shortcut and, override millions of years of human biology, what is the toll?
The toll is steep, and it is largely structural. From a regulatory standpoint, there are clear FDA warnings regarding potential risks for thyroid C-cell tumors and acute pancreatitis.
Wait, pancreatitis, that's intensely painful.
It's very serious. You are drastically altering your endocrine system, and that carries inherent risk. But the most alarming cost, and the one the medical community is deeply concerned about right now, is what it does to your musculoskeletal system.
Oh, you're talking about the muscle wasting.
Yeah.
Because I saw some studies suggesting that up to 40% of the total weight lost on these drugs can be lean muscle mass. 40%.
It's staggering. Think about it mechanically. When you chemically suppress your appetite to the point of malnutrition, your body enters a state of panic.
Because it thinks it's starving.
Exactly. And muscle is highly metabolically expensive tissue. It requires a lot of calories just to maintain. So if your brain senses starvation, but you aren't doing any physical work, because you're just sitting on a couch feeling nauseous from the medication.
Your body just decides it cannot afford to keep that expensive muscle.
Right. It cannibalizes it for energy.
And if you lose that much muscle, you're completely destroying your BMR, right? Your basal metabolic rate.
Completely destroying it. Muscle is the engine that burns calories around the clock. If you shrink the engine, your metabolism slows to an absolute crawl.
It makes me think of it like real estate. Like using GLP-1 is like renting a gorgeous luxury house.
Oh, I like this.
Yeah, you get to live in it. It looks great from the outside. But the moment you stop paying the rent, the moment you stop the injections, you're evicted.
You're out on the street.
And because you've destroyed your BMR, that suppressed hunger roars back like a wild beast. But now you have a weaker engine to burn those calories. You haven't built your own metabolic flexibility.
That is a brilliant analogy. GLP-1 is a rental. But utilizing our evolutionary biology like fasting and resistance training is buying the property. You actually own that metabolic machinery.
So if that chemical shortcut is stripping away our muscle and setting us up for a catastrophic rebound, what is the alternative? How do we get that massive fat loss without losing the muscle engine?
That requires us to look at the one type of fat that GLP-1 actually struggles to specifically target, which is visceral fat.
Ah, visceral fat. That's the fat wrapped deep inside your abdomen, right? Suffocating organs like the liver and pancreas.
Exactly. And researchers at Harvard Medical School have made it very clear that visceral fat is not just inactive jiggly blubber.
It's not just sitting there.
No, it is a highly active, aggressive endocrine organ. Think of it as a toxic vault, constantly secreting inflammatory cytokines.
Right. Those are the proteins like IL-6 and TNF-alpha.
Yeah.
I was super fascinated by how the research explained their mechanism.
Yeah, it's wild, isn't it?
It is, because they don't just float around making you feel inflamed. They actively block your cells from absorbing energy. It's like, imagine your cell has a lock, and insulin is the key that opens the door to let glucose in for energy.
Okay, tracking.
These cytokines, like IL-6, literally jam gum into the keyhole. The insulin can't fit, the door won't open, and all that sugar just stays trapped in your bloodstream. That is literally the mechanical definition of insulin resistance.
Which forces your pancreas to pump out even more insulin, trying to force the door open, leading to this vicious cycle of fat storage and chronic disease.
So this vault is heavily guarded and leaking toxins that are breaking our metabolic machinery. How do we break it and clear it out? I mean, we need like a special ops team.
We do. To crack that vault, you need a biochemical skeleton key. And that key is called norepinephrine.
Norepinephrine.
Yeah. When you initiate a fast, your body eventually realizes food isn't coming, and it triggers a massive surge of this hormone. But the locks on visceral fat are incredibly stubborn.
How so?
Well, normal subcutaneous fat, the fat just under your skin, has what we call beta-3 receptors. These are like friendly doormen. They easily open up and release energy when norepinephrine knocks.
But visceral fat is fortified with alpha-2 receptors. And from what I read, those aren't friendly doormen. Those are heavy steel bank vault doors.
Exactly. They act as absolute emergency brakes on fat burning.
So skipping breakfast doesn't do anything, really. A minor bump in norepinephrine won't cut it. You need an overwhelming surge.
Right. You need a tsunami of it. And that generally requires a prolonged fast, typically crossing the 20-hour mark, getting into the territory of OMAB, which stands for 1 meal a day.
But wait, if I don't eat for 24 hours, won't my metabolism just crash?
Why would you think that?
Well, we just talked about how GLP-1 causes the body to cannibalize muscle because it thinks it's starving. Why wouldn't a 24-hour fast do the exact same thing? Won't I end up shivering under a blanket, losing my muscle mass while my body clings to every ounce of fat?
It is a totally logical concern, but it ignores the fundamental difference between drug-induced starvation and evolutionary fasting.
Okay, explain that.
Our ancestors didn't have refrigerators, right? If they went 2 days without a successful hunt, and their bodies responded by making them cold, weak, and tired, the human race would have gone extinct.
That's a very fair point. We would have just died out.
Exactly. Instead, we have an evolutionary safety net. During a 2 to 3 day fast, human growth hormone, or HGH, spikes by up to 500%.
500%? That is massive.
It is. And the HGH acts as a protective shield for the muscle. Your body is essentially saying, we are out of food. Here's a massive boost of energy and structural protection so you can stay strong, alert, and hyper-focused to go hunt.
Oh, wow. So while your muscles are protected by the HGH, a secondary process kicks in, right? Autophagy. Autophagy.
Which is incredible. It was discovered by the Nobel laureate Yoshinori Ohsumi. The way the research describes it, it's like cellular Pac-Man.
That is the perfect way to visualize it.
Right. When the body realizes no fresh nutrients are coming in, it starts looking around internally for fuel. It finds old, damaged, misfolded proteins and senescent cells, which are basically zombie cells that cause aging, and it literally eats them. It recycles the junk while you hunt.
So you get the muscle protection from HGH, the cellular cleanup from autophagy, and the norepinephrine surge to finally crack open the visceral fat vault.
But, you cannot just stop eating forever.
No, definitely not.
To avoid downregulating your thyroid and eventually crashing your BMR, you need a very specific playbook.
Yeah.
Which brings us to metabolic deception.
Right, keeping the body guessing.
Exactly. I was reading Dr. Jason Fung's work, and he talks about this concept of hormesis, biological stress that makes you stronger, like lifting weights. He champions the 5+1 strategy, and it makes so much sense biologically.
Walk us through how that works in practice. It's brilliantly nonlinear. So for 5 days a week, you do a gentle 16.8 fast. You fast for 16 hours, eat your meals within an 8-hour window. Think of this as sweeping the porch.
Sweeping the porch. I love that. Great daily maintenance.
Exactly. It's maintenance, but it's not breaking into the vault. Then, 1 day a week, you shock the system with an OMAD day, a full 24-hour fast. That is raiding the vault.
By mixing those rhythms, your body never adapts to a constant low-calorie state.
Right. The thyroid stays happy, your BMR stays high, and you get the deep healing benefits without the metabolic crash.
It prevents the exact physiological panic that causes the muscle wasting we see with those synthetic drugs.
And this is a huge... But if you are going to attempt that 24-hour fast, you cannot just white-knuckle it with tap water and sheer willpower.
Please don't do that.
I have to stress what the experts highlight as the ultimate biohack for this: electrolytes. They are your body's circuit coolant.
They really are. Because when you fast, your insulin drops significantly.
And when insulin drops, it signals your kidneys to excrete sodium. And because water follows sodium, you lose a ton of water weight very quickly.
Which is exactly why people often feel dizzy or get headaches during their first prolonged fast. Their blood volume is literally dropped.
Exactly. So you have to actively replenish the big three. First, sodium. High-quality sea salt in your water maintains that blood volume and keeps your blood pressure stable so you don't pass out when you stand up.
That's super important.
Second, potassium. This is non-negotiable for stabilizing the electrical impulses in your heart. Fun fact from the data: avocados have significantly higher potassium levels than bananas without the massive sugar spike.
That is a great tip. Skip the banana, eat the avocado.
And third, magnesium. Think dark leafy greens. Magnesium is responsible for muscle relaxation. If you are getting leg cramps at night while fasting, your magnesium is totally depleted.
And if you want the ultimate minimalist fuel to get you through those final hours without breaking the fast, high-quality bone broth is packed with these minerals.
Yes, bone broth is a lifesaver, but that structural support is vital. And equally critical to the fast is how you bring it to a close.
Yeah.
Precision refeeding is where most people make their biggest mistake.
Oh, absolutely.
Because after 24 hours of raiding the vault and feeling like a biochemical Navy SEAL, the instinct is to order a massive bowl of spicy ramen and a milkshake to celebrate.
It's so tempting, but the medical journals are terrifyingly clear on why that is a terrible idea.
Yeah, if you break a prolonged fast with pure, refined carbohydrates, your insulin is going to spike from absolute zero to the summit of Mount Everest in a matter of minutes.
It is an incredibly violent event for the body. That massive sudden influx of glucose causes severe fluid shifts. Your kidneys suddenly retain all the sodium they were just flushing out, leading to rapid swelling and electrolyte imbalances.
You feel bloated instantly.
Instantly. Furthermore, because the body panics at this sudden sugar overload, it immediately halts fat burning and shifts into aggressive fat storage mode.
So you really have to knock gently on your digestive system.
Yes, knock gently.
You break the fast with a small amount of high-quality protein and fat. The data suggests something like a single hard-boiled egg or a handful of macadamia nuts.
Just something small to wake things up.
Right. You give your pancreas and your stomach an hour to produce the necessary enzymes, and then you can sit down for a normal, balanced meal.
And that right there is the complete blueprint for metabolic flexibility. The 5+1 strategy, aggressive electrolyte management, and gentle refeeding.
It sounds incredibly powerful, but Mickey, this is exactly why you sent us this topic today.
Yes, Mickey, we haven't forgotten you.
You mentioned that your gut is incredibly sensitive. Like, if you just delay a single meal by a couple of hours, you get debilitating stomach pain and cramps. So when we talk about this massive spike in stress hormones in 24-hour fasts, we really need to look at what that does to your specific stomach lining.
We do. We need to do a hard fact check on this protocol for anyone dealing with a compromised gut. And speaking directly to you, Mickey, and any Sip&Talker who shares this specific physiology, OMAD is currently a terrible idea for you.
Let's unpack the mechanics of why, because it really comes down to conditional reflexes.
Right. The brain is an incredibly predictive organ.
Exactly. If you usually eat lunch every day at noon, your brain doesn't wait until you swallow the food to start working. At 11:30 a.m., it starts sending signals to your stomach to secrete hydrochloric acid in anticipation of the meal.
And if you suddenly decide to skip that meal entirely to push for a 24-hour fast, that highly acidic pool has nothing to digest.
Just acid sitting there.
Yeah. In a perfectly healthy gut, a robust mucus lining protects the stomach wall. But in a sensitive gut, that acid directly attacks the container. It burns the stomach lining, causing those severe cramps.
And it gets worse when we factor in the biochemistry of the fast itself. We were just praising the norepinephrine and cortisol surge because it acts as the skeleton key for visceral fat.
We were, yeah.
But we have to remember, those are fight-or-flight stress hormones. Evolutionarily, if those hormones are spiking, your body thinks you were running from a tiger, not trying to digest a sandwich.
Right. Digestion is not a priority when you're running for your life.
Exactly. So it shunts blood flow away from the digestive tract and pushes it out to your skeletal muscles so you can sprint.
And that vascular constriction is the critical issue here. Because the blood flow to the stomach is heavily reduced, the stomach mucosa is deprived of the oxygen and nutrients it needs to repair itself from the acid damage we just talked about.
So you are pairing high acid exposure with a biological inability to heal.
Exactly. This skyrockets the risk of developing gastric ulcers.
Wow. So what is the tailored roadmap here? You don't just give up and go get a GLP-1 shot because your stomach hurts. You make micro adjustments.
Micro adjustments are key.
The first rule the research points to is shorten, don't skip. You shouldn't be attempting 16-hour or 24-hour fasts right now. Stick to a gentle 12.1 rhythm. Eat your meals within a 12-hour window, and just rest the digestive system for 12 hours overnight.
That 12-hour rest is plenty of time for the migrating motor complex in your gut to sweep out debris without triggering a massive stress response.
And if even that 12-hour window causes mild discomfort in the morning, use low-acid buffers.
Like what?
Sip warm water or a little bit of unsweetened almond milk. It's just enough physical volume to coat the stomach and prevent the stomach walls from grinding together and irritating the mucosa, but it doesn't contain enough sugar or protein to trigger a massive insulin response that would break the fast entirely.
That's a really smart hack.
And I want to add one more crucial mechanism from the literature. Nourish before you fast. You need a strong container before you pour high-octane racing fuel into it.
Okay, I love that metaphor. How do we nourish the container?
The data highlights an amino acid called L-glutamine, which is incredibly effective for repairing the gut lining. And the reason how it works is fascinating. The cells that line your intestinal tract, called enterocytes, actually prefer L-glutamine over glucose for fuel.
Wait, really? Over glucose?
Yes. So when you supplement it, you're directly feeding the repair crew, allowing them to rapidly rebuild that protective mucus barrier.
So you are literally repairing the structural integrity of the stomach. You must earn the right to do advanced fasting by proving you have a healthy foundation.
Exactly. So, Mickey, and to anyone listening who feels that same pressure, please hear this. Do not rush into extreme fasting out of anxiety or because you have FOMO, seeing everyone in the tech scene taking GLP-1 shortcuts or bragging on social media about their 24-hour fasts.
Yeah, ignore the noise.
Your body is sending you a very clear signal that it needs healing right now, not more stress. Heal the container first.
That is the core philosophy of all sustainable biohacking. Discipline is meant to serve your biological vision, not destroy your health in pursuit of a trend. If you take the time to heal your gut first, I promise you that visceral fat vault will still be exactly where you left it, waiting to be raided when your body is actually resilient enough to handle the mission.
Absolutely. Remember, be patient with your physiology. Be sure to subscribe to Sip and Talk wherever you get your audio so you never miss a session. And definitely check out Mickey's YouTube vlog, Mickey to Life, where he documents his travels and life. It is fantastic content. Go check it out.
And as always, a few standard reminders before we close. Today's discussion was an objective look at biological mechanisms and international health trends. We are here to encourage independent critical thinking.
Always.
We pass no judgment and hold no discrimination toward any group or lifestyle, whether you utilize medication for severe clinical needs, pursue natural biohacking, or anything in between. Please remember that any health protocols discussed today should always be consulted with a certified medical professional before you take action.
It is all about finding the right tool for your specific biology. Mickey, go drink a cup of warm water right now.
Yes, please do. I do want to leave you all with one final lingering thought. If we can artificially mute our fundamental evolutionary drive for hunger today with a simple syringe, what other basic human survival instincts will we try to turn off tomorrow?
Yeah.
And when we successfully engineer away all our biological struggles, what exactly is left of our human experience?
Oof. That is going to keep me up tonight. Thank you for joining us, Sip and Talkers, and we will catch you on the next session. Bye.